Hi, welcome to Chad Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I appreciate you visiting. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button before you leave, that helps out a great deal as far as getting my channel promoted. So thanks in advance for that. It also helps if you leave comments, so feel free to leave comments if you want to. A while back I did a ring that I called the cobblestone ring, and it had some kind of distorted silver balls that were filed flat on top, and it kind of had a nice looking cobblestone sort of look to it. And ever since then, I've been thinking about doing something in a ring that looked like brickwork. So I think I'm going to do a brickwork ring today, and we'll see how it comes. In fact, I might do two. I think I'm going to do one with real symmetrical bricks and one with sort of roughed up looking bricks, like old, like antique looking bricks. So we'll see. Before we get started, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. I'd like to thank my YouTube subscribers because you guys are what makes this possible. Whether it's just the constructive criticism and the nice comments that you leave. I've met so many nice people through the channel, and I really appreciate all of the interactions we have. Thank you also for the financial support. This has become my job, and it's making it turn into a living is helped a lot by your contributions, whether you're buying me a coffee or buying some merch from my store. Those all help a lot as far as keeping me in supplies, so thank you for that as well. The other group I wanted to thank is my patrons over on Patreon, and actually I have two new patrons this week, Jesse P. and KG. I wanted to thank you especially for signing up for my premium content. I hope you enjoy the community over there. There's a lot of really nice people, and some people who have quite a bit of talent too. I've learned a lot of techniques and tool resources from them over there that I didn't realize existed. So it's turned into a really nice community. So welcome Jesse P. and KG, and thank you to you guys and all my other patrons too for all of your support. If you're interested in checking that out, or any of the other relevant links like my website link or my merch store link, check the video description down below. There's details on Patreon as well as all those other links. So, all right, well, let's get started on this project. Let's see what I drew up here. It wasn't a very sophisticated drawing this time. Basically, they're both going to look like this. And I'm going to use 18 gauge sheet for the inner band. And then what I did was I rolled out some 10 gauge square wire. So it's a little bit thinner in one dimension. And it kept pretty much the same width. It was 10 gauge square. But I wanted it thinner so it didn't stick up so much. But I'm going to cut this into little pieces and cut myself a piece of 18 gauge sheet for the band. We'll probably make the band first and then add these on. You could, I suppose, do this all flat before you make it into a band. That's one way you could do it. The problem with that is once we solder this thick wire onto the 18 gauge, it's going to become pretty stiff and hard to bend. And so I think it might be easier to do in the long run if we do it after it's round, add the pieces onto it after it's round, even though that provides its own set of challenges too. So, but I think that'll be a better way to go for this one. So let's get started. I ran out of 18 gauge, so I poured some new ingots and I gave myself some 18 gauge with the rolling mill. So I think I should be able to get some bands off of here. First, before we do that though, let's figure out what size we want to make. This is about how wide I'm going to make it, I think. So I'm going to cut the piece of paper about that same width. And then I'm going to add a little bit extra on here that I'm going to need to file off some. But it's still, adding that extra will help to compensate for the depth of the material we're using for the band, which creates a smaller inner circle. So I hope that made sense. I don't know if it did or not. Okay, so that's about how long for a 9 from there to here. So I'm going to try and see if I got a straight enough spot up here. Maybe not that wide. I want it so wide that I probably just want 2 rows, I think, of bricks. So if I do one there, let me cut a little piece off of here. So if we put these two next to each other, the little gap between them. I can probably get by with a little bit narrower than this, like that. That's about 9 millimeters. To line up one edge, mark this right to here. I got a little cracking that happened on the edge when I was rolling it, so I'm going to try and get that not to be included here. Yeah, don't move on me. Stay still. That should give us a pretty close to one. I'm going to have to change the angle of this just a little bit, like that. Let's see if we can cut that out and show you how that works. If you've never been to my channel before, I use primarily hard silver solder and a spray-on flux called My-T-Flux. Looks like this. And I use generally sheet version of solder. Okay, let's cut this off. Everybody asks about these shears. These are called Fisker's craft shears, actually. I was making plans to do this video and I realized I was out of 18 gauge sheet. I had a quick mix on this morning. I was trying to cast a nice ingot and I kept getting these partial ingots because I couldn't get the mold hot enough this morning for some reason. But I got some pieces that were usable. Do a little bit of cleanup filing on this. Gave myself plenty of room for messing up. Could use my little miter vice jig if I wanted to, but this will work pretty well. Let's grab that one very straight. That's okay. I can eyeball it. Oh, if you want to see that cobblestone ring, I'll put a link up there for you. Forgot to mention. I could give you a link there. Let's turn this guy into a band. So let's make a little U shape out of him first. And then bend these guys so they're pointing towards each other. I'm going to push them past each other a couple times so they're kind of tending to push towards each other. I pull it back here and just let it kind of pop into place there. And we got some positive pressure going between the two of them here. Let's cut a few pieces of hard solder. Flux the outside here too, okay? Usually also do it on the outside just to make sure I got a full penetration of that seam. So I can get this guy to sit up right. Just throw one on here too. Clean up any excess solder on the inside. Never fails. I always pick up the dullest one. Okay. Let's round him out on the mandrel a little bit. Alright, that's relatively round. Let's do a little more cleaning up on it. So, my thought is, with this kind of thing, since I need to make it slightly curved to match the curve of the ring, it's much easier to do that when this is a long piece. If I curve it, you know, several times around the mandrel where this was at, that'll get me pretty close to the same angle here, and then I can just gradually add the bricks together as I snip them off of here. Let's try that. This one came to pretty close. We were shooting for a 9, we got a 9. So wonders never cease. I don't usually hit it that close. Alright, so let's wrap this. I'm going to wrap this around a little further down here. Go around a few times. Okay, so now we got a curve that should pretty closely match that curve there. So now I can decide how long of bricks I want. And I think I'm going to do the symmetrical one first. So I'm going to cut exact size bricks for all of these and work my way around. So let's see how that one looks. You could use your saw to do this, but that would take quite a while. So I'm going to do it shortcut. So I'm thinking maybe bricks about 8 millimeters maybe. Seems like a good size to me. Just arbitrarily. Okay, it's on my finger here. Let's go. There, right there. So I'm going to cut him off, and I'll use him as my gauge for all of these. But since this cuts with a beveled cut on one side, I'm going to have to keep cutting that off, which is the disadvantage of not using the saw. So I can snip off that little end each time. And this is going to take me a little while, so I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing here. Okay, I have a pile of little curved brick-shaped things, sort of. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sweat some solder on the back side of each of these. Shouldn't require too big a piece, I wouldn't think. So I'm just going to lay these all out. I may or may not have enough here. I didn't really measure for these, so we'll see. And there is a little bit of variation in the size of these bricks because I was hand cutting them, so that's alright. Don't need to be too nitpicky, I guess. Alright, let's put some little relatively small pieces of solder. Flux these little guys. If you're new to this, sweat soldering is where you pre-melt some solder in a place where you want it to be and then connect the pieces together by reheating it till it flows again. I'm just going to pre-melt some solder on the underside of these. Make a little puddle there. I don't want to leave a big bump because that'll be hard to get it to sit where I want it to on the sit on the band itself nicely. It may be a little challenge anyway, so let's not make it harder on ourselves. Start at the solder joint and work our way around. Let's get this fluxed a little bit. Oops. Just got myself on my pick. Okay, let's see how that goes. Let's quite a bit of mass in the band of this, so you need to spend some time getting the band taut before you start focusing on the top. Keep my pick in my hand in case I need to move something a little bit. So I have a tendency to hydroplane a little bit around. Oopsie. That's pretty good. Let's go the other way, actually. Pretty close. I think I'll probably oxidize this one after we're done so that it has some contrast from the raised parts to the rest of it. Pretty good. We'll just keep working our way around. Should have left it alone. Let's see. We're going to need probably one more at least. I think this short one, like right there. This guy out. That was too long. And I'll cut another one for that one, unless I have one that I'm missing somewhere. let's give this one a little time to pickle. Well, actually, let's take a peek at it real quick. After I cool it off, then we'll let it pickle for a while. Before I threw it in to pickle, I want to make sure everything's actually got a good solder joint on it. It looks like it does, and it looks pretty symmetrical, so I probably, after I'm done pickling this, I'll probably file both edges smooth so it gets it a little even, a little more symmetrical. We'll see how it looks. I think it's kind of looking pretty cool. We'll see though. Alright, so let's heat that up and pickle it. And then I'm going to prep another one, and then we'll do one more with some random shaped, or random sized bricks. We'll see how that one comes out. And we may texture that one too. When I was assembling the second one with all the little pieces, my phone died. I'm filming side view, and so I'm sorry about that, but it was pretty much the same as applying these. I just did it in a little more random pattern. So, and then I polished these up, and I think they came out pretty cool. One thing I was going to do on one of them, probably the one with the random kind of sizes, I was going to put it on a ring mandrel like this, and I have some of this 80 grit sandpaper here. Just thinking about using that as a way to texture those bricks. So I was going to put that on there, and then just kind of like a chasing hammer. That's giving it kind of a cool texture. Let's keep doing that some more. I wasn't sure how this would look, but I like it. Gives it kind of a brushed look. One thing about textures like this is if they're on the high points of a piece of jewelry like this one is, it's not going to end up being permanent because silver's soft enough to where abrasion will eventually rub that away, but it'll still be a cool ring. But I think I like that texture. I think that came out pretty nicely. Probably going to take some pictures. Here's just the plain one. I'll probably take some pictures of them like they are right now, and then I may oxidize this one in the cracks and see how that one comes out looking. So if I do, I'll end up putting a picture of all three states in the video. So all right, so I'll get some better pictures of them and put them at the end. Alright, well that was the brick ring tutorial. I hope you enjoyed those. I know I did, and I always learn something when I try something new, so I hope you learned something as well. Thank you for coming, and make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button before you leave. That helps out so much. Also, check out the video description for some of those links I talked about earlier, whether it's my Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or my merch store, where you can get something like this beautiful design book with the nice graph paper in it. Check those things out. They're pretty good products. So thanks for watching again. I appreciate all of your support. Take care. Happy silversmithing.